Good evening, dear friends. Welcome to this hour. Saturday night. I've spent the last 2 hours with my good friend Sean Atwood. I just left that show, and here I am with you, and I thank you. Thank you for being here. I also thank our good friend Howie Brown, who gifted 5 Lionel Nation memberships. You are without peer, sir. Thank you. Thank you immensely for this. I don't even know where to start, my friends. I'm feeling great. I'm feeling happy. I hope you are as well. Please join in. Let us enjoy ourselves tonight, shall we? May we please have our fun tonight? May we? Please? We know it. Is everyone happy? Are you feeling happy? Hello, Brian from Southwest Michigan. Hello, Ted Murray, Card Oliver, Vanya or Varya, Gracie Loves. Ladies and gentlemen, Donna Smith has joined us. Donna became a YouTube member. Donna's there with her beautiful, is that a little puppy? Oh, cute. They are so wonderful, these dogs. They're so much better than people. Good. Oh, look at this. Fred Haddad is feeling apprehensive. And by the way, those who are listening to this later, we have a live stream. We have so many great people. Kimmy Cliff is here. You've heard a lot about Kimmy, and a lot of the rumors have been unsubstantiated. So please give her a break. Ina Richards, ladies and gentlemen. Ina, where is Ina? Ina, there we go. Ina Richards is here. How about that Ina Garten, the barefoot Contessa, whatever the hell her name is? Never liked her. Gloria Hanley's here. Gloria's here. Everybody's here. EOS is here. The Emperor is back. Look at this. Mima McCheese. Look at that look. Look at that Punim. Look at that. South Carolina, yes. I'm so happy. I'm happy. Evan Webb is happy. I'm serious. I'm tired of people not being happy. We won. God damn it. We won. Doesn't that mean something to you? Doesn't it mean something? It means something to me. Do you know that there isn't a moment that goes by when I don't think to myself, my God, she could have won. I know this is hard for you to believe, but they could have fixed this. They could have fixed this. They could have done something. They could have, I don't know what I would do. No, you don't understand this. It would be, I don't know what I would do if I was, I don't know what the word is. I don't know what I would do if she were the president. I'm just so thankful for that man. I'm serious. I'm not one to normally, but God bless him. And anybody he wants to pick, I'm for them 100%. Anybody he wants to pick. Thank God for him. Do not listen to anybody else. Do not listen to anybody. These people make me sick. So, ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, we're going to have a good time. We're going to have fun tonight. We're going to have fun. We are going to have fun. We so need the fun. So let me tell you, first of all, please do me a favor. Please make sure that you are subscribed. 87%. I couldn't believe this. So the people who watch are not subscribed. Thank you so much. And please, before we begin, my friends, listen very, very, very carefully to a very, very important message from our very, very important sponsor. Let me ask you a question. When's the last time you checked your devices for malware? Malware attacks have increased 643% since 2020, with approximately 10 million personal and corporate devices compromised with data stealing malware in just the last year alone. Additionally, 19.8% of computers face at least one malware attack annually. This emphasizes the critical need for individual users to protect themselves, their devices, and their data. This is why I use today's sponsor, Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro, and I love the peace of mind it gives me. Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro is an award-winning antivirus with real-time protection, malware removal, ad blocking, scheduled scans, multi-device protection, and more that stops malicious downloads in their tracks. Without Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro, I would risk my finances, banking details, personal data, and more getting into the hands of cyber criminals. Thanks again to Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro for sponsoring today's extravaganza. And do yourself a favor and sign up for a free 7-day free trial, of Virtual Shield Antivirus Pro during their early Black Friday sale happening now, and get up to 75% off. Yes, you heard that. Up to 75% off. Only at virtualshield.com/Lionel. Once again, that's virtualshield.com/Lionel. Absolutely. By the way, special thanks, of course, you mentioned to Linda. Oh, Linda Haslett is happy. Pilgrim Media, by the way, he says, I am replete with Trumpisms. Thank you for that. Conrad, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, Conrad. You know, someone said something very, very, very smart. And her name is Caro. Here we go. She says, I'm telling you, the more they, the Dims, complain about the Trump picks, the better the picks are. You were so spot on, Missy. You hear that? There's a whistle there. You were so spot on. I'm serious. I am happy. And please, you better promise me that you do not in any way repeat, extrapolate, or do anything involving that horrible, rancid terror, this awful, awful nonsense that we go through these people. There was somebody who was on with CNN saying, I'm not going to repeat that. I'm not going to post it. No. If it's something else, that's great. Do not, even if it's somebody that we like appearing on whatever, don't do it. Don't do it. This is the most important thing about this. Wait a minute. Hang on a minute. Did I get something on does Howie have stones? Did I miss this? Hang on a minute. Is that what I heard? Did I miss? Howie's got stones. Hang on a minute. Jesus, I got to go back up there. Howie, I can't find you. Howie's got stones. Are we talking kidney stones? Are we talking through the ureters? Oh, he passed kidney stones. Oh, dear God. Oh, dear God. I got to tell you a true story. You ready for this? This is one of the, well, it's not funny, but it was kind of in retrospect. I have been through pain. I know many people have been through pain, and I don't want to in any way suggest that one pain is worth, because I think kidney stones is something that you have to, you hope you never, ever, ever having to deal with it, because it is horrible, just horrible. And I want to tell you a couple of things, a couple of great stories. And by the way, as I said, I want to mention a special hello to our friend Sherry, and your daughter Elizabeth. I want to say, get well, Sherry. Get well means a lot. Our hearts and our energy are with you. You know, pain's an interesting thing. I did one time House of Cards. When I was on my way to Baltimore, Mrs. Ellen and I had this, it was this Thai restaurant we went to. Twice, I got these pains. One time it was, I don't know what it was. I attributed it to mushrooms or something. I don't know what it was. Just a pain, an absolute pain. Anyway, I went to this place and was on my way to the next day early to Baltimore to get set up for this scene with Robin Wright. And anyway, I said, this is a weird pain. It was not like gas, but it was like a pain, like somebody stuck a knife in me. I was so bad that I was in my, I said, I got to sit down. And they had this huge set. And I sat in the back and was in this room of all the, oh my God, the wardrobe. He couldn't believe it. This huge set, the plane was in there in the White House. It was a whole bit. And I said, oh my God, I'm dying. Could I just sit down? I tried to induce emesis. That didn't work. Nothing worked. It was a pain. I was absolutely dying. And I was supposed to go on the next day. Okay. It got so bad, I was screaming. They called an ambulance. They took me to this place in Baltimore, this emergency room, and I was dying. And I said, I hate being such a little bitch, but I never yell, but I was like howling. I never knew pain like this. So he says, well, we could try morphine. And I grabbed him and I said, no. And sure enough, in my IV, I couldn't believe it. I was fine. I had something wrong with me. I did the scene. I did it. First take, I did it fine. I was done. Everybody's calling. Should we cancel? No. I'm going to do it. You sure? And they took me in an ambulance. I mean, think about this. The people on the set, the director or whatever it is, he says, we're not going to let this guy. I said, no, I'm fine now. They took you away in an ambulance. I said, well, I know, but I'm okay now. Thank God for morphine. And it was one of those things where, but the best pain, when I was 13 years old. And when they went to the doctor and they said, we found blood in your urine. I said, oh, that's okay. That's good. He goes, no, it's not good. That's not good. Really? I said, oh, well. They want to take you to the doctor, to the hospital, take a picture of your bladder. Okay. How tough can that be? Take a picture of my bladder. All right. Go up against the wall. Hold your breath. How tough can that be? He said, no, we're going to do either a voiding cystogram or an IVP. I think it was a voiding cystogram. I said, what's that? He said, we're going to fill your bladder with fluid, with contrast. I said, oh, you want me to drink it? He said, no. What do you mean, no? I was 13 years old. So what do you mean, no? We're going to give you a catheter. A what? A catheter. What's that? I didn't know. And they showed this thing was a Foley. They said, we're going to put this tube in you. I said, how? Again, I'm thinking, no, maybe it just went through your abdomen. No, we're going to put it through the meatus, up into your urethra, into your bladder. Oh, dear God. Oh, dear God. Well, they did it, and I'm hanging on, and I do not like catheters to this day. I said, okay, whew. Thank God that's over. They said, no, that's the catheter. Now we're going to fill you up. Now, let me ask you something. Have you ever had, I want you to imagine the worst time you ever had to micturate or pee. I want you to imagine the worst time ever, the worst, where you thought, I'm going to explode. I'm going to die. I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to trip. I'm going to bust. I'm going to go crazy. I'm going to explode. This is the worst thing I've ever seen in my life. I can't take it anymore. I'm going to wet myself. I'm going to lose my, right? Nothing can compare to having every square inch, every piece of real estate in your bladder that is filled with this fluid. Every square inch, everything. So I'm on the table and they're filling me up. And they said, by the way, if you feel uncomfortable, tell us. I'm uncomfortable. They said, no, you got to wait a little bit. I said, I'm uncomfortable. I know you're uncomfortable, but. So they closed the door. And I realized, and I thought they'd be in there. And I can still see this x-ray room. And by law, these doors are really thick. So I'm in there and my abdomen is distended from this fluid. It's like, oh my God, I'm looking at this thing. It's like this whole big bag of, I said, hey, ho, hey, I'm making noises. Hey, nothing. And then I'm like, I mean, as the water, as this fluid is sailing, is coming. I'm not making noise. I'm like, I look like Reagan from there, with this tube in my stomach. And this doctor says, well, he said, oh, no. The nurse came in, he goes, oh, my. I said, oh, my. Well, let's take those pictures. I'm like, so he says, okay, now roll over. I said, roll over? Roll over. He goes, oh, these are good pictures. You better believe they're good. You better believe they're good. So he goes, okay, and he pulls out this, and it feels like your guts are coming out. They pull this tube out. He goes, okay, you can void. I'm 13 years ago. What does that mean? You can let her rip. I said, where? He goes, out there. And they had an area, which was a restroom. It was kind of like shared. I said, don't you have a bathroom? And he goes, no, there's no. Don't you have a like a bedpan? He goes, no, we don't have enough bedpans for what you're going to need. Go in there. So I got the gown and I'm grabbing my ass and I go in there. And inside this room, it must have been built by, I don't know, Phil Spector, Wall of Sound. The echoes and the loud. And I mean, so I'm in there and it sounded, imagine this. Men, you'll dig this when you hear the sound as a young man and you realize it used to sound like that. Imagine a fire hose, just for purposes of sound, this far away from the water and turn on a fall blast. I could etch stone with this. I could engrave granite with the force of this collected, the pressure. And these people are outside. They're reading. We read magazines. Nobody was doing their phone. We had a magazine. Oh, Gem Cutter's Quarterly. And I'm in there. And I think they must have been looking like, what the hell is that? 3 minutes later, they're thinking, what is this? What is he doing? And then it would stop and then start right up again. And when I walked out, I didn't know if they wanted a clap, applaud, if they were like, what is this? And they're wondering, what did they do to him? Okay. One more story, and then we'll go to your calls. I went back for another thing called a retrograde urethrogram, which is, I'll tell you about that later. But they were doing a colonoscopy in the old days with contrast, where they fill you up with, but they just to fill you up the air so they can check the configuration of the colon. This poor guy, they filled him up with, I don't know, about 30, 40 PSI of air. And it wasn't as smooth as now, but this poor guy was in there. So I'm in there now, and I'm waiting. And I'm reading Jen Cutter's Quarterly or Yachting or Boating, whatever I'm reading. And this poor guy, again, comes up, always grabbing the back, because you have a little bit of pride. Your ass is hanging on, and you got this gown on. And this was the ultimate indignity. He goes back into the Wall of Sound, into this room, this sound chamber. And it was, it sounded like Al Hurt, Clark Terry, Maynard Ferguson doing the riff from Rocky. It was a baritone flatus that was so, I've never heard anything. And we're like this. Okay. Nothing to see here. Don't look at each other. We're going to start laughing. Oh, okay. It sounded like mild explosions, mortar fire, small arms. And he came out and we looked at him like, because remember, when you go to a hospital, leave your money and your pride at the door. You understand that? Sparky says, I think there was a breakdown in the Establishment Coalition where they could not sufficiently fortify the 2024 election. I think that's a very mild way of saying that. And isn't it interesting how I went from the story of severe flatus to a most expert view of the election? This is something we go from here to here. And of course, Elizabeth, LOL. The Ripper, Anna says, Dear Lord. Yeah. Like getting your tire pumped up. Oh, yes. Elizabeth, you see that everybody's laughing. See, nobody wants to ever admit to this. Nobody ever really wants to laugh about what really is funny. Very, very, very funny things that are we're not supposed to laugh at. But isn't it great sometimes to laugh? And that's why one of the things that little kids learn, being little kids, at first being kind of embarrassed, but laughing. You know what I mean? Laughing, doing something. It's just. But thank God we're alive. But listen, I hope your stones are better, because that is a pain in the whatever it is. Horrid. In any event, I also want to tell you about this. I hope you found on my YouTube, my what am I trying to say? On my X channel or Twitter channel, those wonderful people at Halterman's Bakery. Did you hear that? Did you hear this today? How I talked about Halterman's Bakery. This Staten Island bakery opened since Rutherford B. Hayes. And that thing that Karen, what's her name, from that show, the Harridan Quintet, that thing with the mop in her hair, she made some disparaging remark, which was attributed to this wonderful bakery. Anyway, they are enjoying an absolute cacophony, a veritable, dare I say, a cacophony of people calling them up, wanting to order. It's the most wonderful thing in the world, because we are such good people. I swear to God, we are such good people. We have been put through so much crap. Have you ever heard, seriously, has anybody ever heard of a Guatemala yard sign pulled off of a lawn by some Trumper? Maybe it's happened. Have you? Have you ever heard of anyone telling you, listen, Uncle Dave, we're all Trumpers here. We're not inviting you because you're a Harris fan or a Biden. You ever heard of that? What is behind that? What is the, I've never heard this before. I never heard this. I have two friends. No, three. One friend who's a doctor I've known since I was 8 years old. He's in Minnesota. I don't call him up and even make fun about and I didn't even say anything about walls, and because he liked him. He's my friend. I've known him since we were 8 years old. Since 58 years I've known him. I don't care about this. We don't talk about this. He doesn't talk about Trump. I don't talk about that. I've got another friend who's just going good egg. He's a little bit more vociferous, and we're texting. And he'll send me this thing about Trump. And I said, well, what do you mean? And he'll send me, he said, what do you mean? What do I mean? That's my reply. What do you mean? I don't understand. Well, what is this supposed to say? And he knows I'm busting his balls. Another friend, we never talk about it. I never talk about it. I hope none of you ever tell your children. I don't tell family, friends, or anybody for that matter what they should do. I mean, they kind of know what I feel. I don't tell anybody what to say. Never talk about it. I'm very, very, I don't talk about that. I don't talk about Israel. I don't talk about religion. I don't talk about anything. But let me tell you what I want to do. First of all, I want to go to Halterman's. And I want to just be, I just want to go because they are so, this place, this woman, I know exactly how she feels when she realizes, why am I, because of this Karen, that horrid, horrible thing, that man mountain, whatever this thing is with a rope in her hair. Anyway, for this family that works so hard. Anyway, We come back with love. Love. You say, oh yeah, you don't want us to go there? Well, we're gonna go there. That's one thing. And I also want to go to Lancaster, PA. It's about 4 hours from here. Mrs. Ellen Isaac, we're going there. We're going there. I don't know what the hell to do. We're gonna bring some flowers, and the first Amish guy, yo, Benny, whatever his name is. Here you go. Thank you. I love the Amish. Who'd have thought? Sparky, even you knew. Even you knew. I didn't think. The Amish? The Amish? Look at this. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Alt I make 250,000 nuts a night. Mr. Alt, what does that mean? What do you mean you make nuts? What does that mean? I'm fascinated by this. Would you be so kind, sir, as to tell us what that means? If you don't mind, could we do this? Could Mr. Alt tell us what you mean when you say you make nuts? I find that fascinating because I love what people's jobs are. Did you see what I just put? He said he makes the nuts. Did I miss something here? Did I miss something? Oh, bolts and nuts? Is that it? So you like tool and die? Oh, you go nut former machines. Excellent. I think that's fascinating. I love watching YouTube machines, and I love watching machines that pick corn and dredge and plow, and those that ASMR, those machines that make spaghetti. Or I've always loved watching machines, and I love what somebody does. I like when somebody has a job, and I love when somebody knows what they're doing. Here we go. Look at this. Romano says, I'm a filmmaker, martial artist working on 3 Power Rangers films. Now, is this incredible or what? This is true. Who the hell would make this up? That is so funny. I mean, not funny. What's funny is Amish drive back. Bang. Bang. Look at this, metric or standard. Not D's. Ladies and gentlemen, C night D's nuts. That's so good. And you know what? You're filthy, and you should be ashamed of yourself. And I love it. I love it. I love terrible puns. West Tampa pun. Hey, guess who I saw? Ed. Ed who? Ed coño su madre. Jeff Alt says 3/4, half, and 1/4 nuts. Isn't that amazing? And isn't it also something? The beautiful part is that the nut is still so perfect. The threaded piece, and it's perfect. Romano says, I mean, it's funny. Thank you. By the way, been a long time subscriber since 2016. Excellent. See, I'm fascinated by that. I'm absolutely fascinated by this. Nut former have the biggest wrenches. There you go. C Knight says, no, I was saying that to someone else that said D's. Listen, lady, don't try to excuse yourself because you're filthy and I love it. Don't get me wrong, okay? Please. I love it. Please. I love dirty, bad jokes. Was thinking about these jokes. My mother used to tell me, really bad, but funny. I love. There's something about, Hugh, Janus, and things like that. Look at Jeff. Jeff says, my ratchet weighs 20 pounds. You're making the night, my friend. Jeff's ratchet weighs 20 pounds. Well, wear a long coat and nobody will notice. Look at this. How about this? I'm a dog show judge. Used to own and run a Rolls-Royce limo business. Unbelievable. That's Kevin, by the way. One time I went to the Westminster Dog Show. And who was there? Martha Stewart. Oh, Christo says, it was me. You know, D's. Yes, D's nuts. Well, and we went backstage and I met Martha Stewart. I couldn't believe how she was very tall lady. And we were looking at how they were looking at just the, the brushing and oh my God, it was fascinating. It was fascinating. Did you ever hear about the word a pizzle? A pizzle? A pizzle is an electric device which is placed in the anus of a horse to make their tail go up for showing purposes. Did you know that? Did you know that? Think about that one. How about that, Jeff? You may have a big a ratchet, but do you have a pizzle? I don't think so. I don't think so, my friend. So don't even think about it. Now, my friends, let me ask you a question. Tell me you've gone to preparewithlionel.com and you've prepared for the apocalypse. I'm not going to hit you hard with this. I'm just trying to save your life. There is going to if you have not sat back and said, all right, let's look at this. And let's start preparing for not the end of times, not an eschatological point of view, but perhaps maybe something as simple as weather, inclement or otherwise. Do it. Preparewithlionel.com. I'm telling you. You know what I'm talking about. And speaking of which, this great man, mypillow.com, promo code Lionel. The great Mike Lindell. Love that guy. And not that you should in any way be a fan merely because of his bravery in terms of the free speech antics. It's just the best product around. American made. The pillows are fantastic. Slipper sheets, towels, you name it. mypillow.com. He supports us and we support them. Don't forget to put in promo code Lionel. One time I was asking somebody things about different jobs they did. I remember one time doing a great talk radio show, and I said, what's the worst jobs people have had? And one guy said, I was a turkey milker. You ever hear that? No. He would have to inseminate turkeys. And in order to use it, they needed a sample from the toms, as it were. And he had to basically pleasure turkeys. He said he did, I think, one or two and just left. Said, I'm not going to do this anymore. Another fellow who changed grease traps in restaurants. He said it was one of the worst things ever. Here's a good one. A friend of mine today is a retired NYPD cop. Told me a story one time when he was a rookie. They got a stinker. One of these things, it was a stinker. It was somebody who had died. And they went to the apartment. They opened the door and go, oh, my God. And this fellow was on the couch, and he had been there. And he had distended so much by virtue of gases and putrescence. And he was just incredible. I mean, this mound of this huge. Well, anyway, my friend never saw that before. So the veteran says, give me your nightstick. He actually had an actual wooden nightstick, not the batons, but the old wooden. He goes, give me your nightstick. He says, okay, he gave it to him. And he had rope or something. So he had a X amount of length. He tied it to the end of the nightstick. He said, stand back here. So he opened the door and he swung it like this, back, and he threw it, and it landed on the distended abdomen. They closed the door and they heard this. That's all they heard. And when they opened the door up, it was, never forgot that. Isn't that a wonderful job? Jonathan says, you can tell it's a Saturday. Thank you, Jonathan. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. C9, by the way, says, what I do for a living is pretty normal, a registered nurse. Let me tell you something. Don't you ever say that. Don't you ever say what's pretty normal. Registered nurse, especially med surge. When I've been cut open before, those people were absolutely. Yeah. My mother was a nurse. My sister was a nurse for like an hour. Oh no. These people are angels, angels. God bless them, because you, especially medical surge, med surge, you're like, "Ah," and you were at your worst. And this is your only contact, because the doctor has something to do with you. How you doing today? Doc, why don't you come on in? No, it's okay. All right? Not really. I'm okay. He's like, what was that? That was a visit. That's about $500. Maybe. Nurses are the greatest. Nurses are, look at this. Vanya says, nurses are worth their weight in gold. And they do so much, because they are the people that are the connection to you and getting better. Because much of what you're scared. And when you've been in the hospital a couple of days, oh, there's nothing worse. Like, you can go home now. It's like a prison. It's horrible. Oh my God. I have been in, I had all my problems. And I had bladder problems when I was 13. Well, I had a lot of surgery, but I had a thyroglossal duct cyst. That was okay. I was on so much wicked painkillers, though. That really freaked me out. I would stay at home. I would make ice. I would stay at home in my bathrobe all day, just like, this great moon had a drain here. It looked like a blow up doll, and they gave me this stuff, and I was just whacked out of my mind. I would just make ice cubes, the old metal trays or that little metal thing. And then they told me, like, well, that's it. I said, what do you mean that's it? That's it, no more. And it wasn't, I don't know if it was a withdrawal, but I just felt so bad. I thought, I will never do that. No. But painkillers, mighty nice. 13 years old, I had that machine. I had my bladder, diverticulum. I had my bladder cut. They cut the bladder to go in. They had to cut it, resect the bladder, cut the bladder itself, then the abdominal surgery, then the drain, then the catheter. And I was just, and they said, one time they came in, they said, we got to go I was 13. I keep telling you that, like you don't know. They said, we're going to go for a walk. I said, go for a walk. Screw you, go for a walk. He said, well, if we don't go for a walk or don't go out, we're going to put a big needle in your lung and pull the fluid out. I said, okay, where do we go? Let's go. Let's on our way. So they put me in this wheelchair, and I have my catheter bag here and the bag for the drain and the tubes. The tubes, like, always like 9 miles long, and they kind of stuck them in the side. And I'm like, ah. And it was in the pediatric ward, because I was like 13, but I was technically a kid. But I looked bad after having been stabbed. And these kids are walking around like, and we're going to get our tonsils out. And the kids have their little dolls, and they're, oh, this is nice, huh? And then me, being pulled, and bags of blood and things sloshing around like, Well, what happened was, as you know, the end of a catheter is a tube, but there's a balloon, and they expand, inflate the balloon, so you can't pull out of the urethra or the suture or the hole or the portal. So they inflate it. So they stuck this tube on the side. So as they're wheeling me around, all of a sudden it gets caught in the wheel, and it pulled me. Now my abdomen was filleted, slashed, sutured, just absolutely the slightest a molecule hits it. And I had tubes in it, and they're pulling it, they yanked it. And I grabbed the wheels. Remember the Everest and Jennings, those old wheelchairs, and let out a kind of a high pitch. It was Sofia Coppola in Pacino, Godfather 3. I was doing an Edvard Munch. Fish could hear it. Birds would lose direction and reroute their migration. It was so high pitched. And they said, oh my, and they picked, I had my hands on it, and they picked me up and just like picked me up, moved me into the room, threw me to the bed. So they wheeled in this device. I had an IV, and it was, I guess, morphine. And I remember thinking, oh yeah. Oh yeah. And I knew in the mind. No. Oh yeah. I was feeling like this is great. From agony to yeah, baby. I want to hear like the doom, 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 the loneliest monk. I'm hallucinating. This is the greatest. And I'm going like this. Because they said, oh, if you need it, you can push it. I'm going like this. I said, no, it's timed. How many minutes? When? Whatever it was. And I'm like, what? And I'm waiting. Is this machine's off? It's off. It'll be, no, you said an hour. It's been more than an hour. Or whatever it was. And then all of a sudden, I pushed it and I could hear whatever that trigger device go, oh, yeah, here we go. And I knew right before that, yeah. Oh, yeah. Drugs, baby. Loved it. And that's why I said, stay away from this stuff. Because I really liked it. Everybody says, I don't like that stuff. It makes me, not me, baby. I got a beret. I'm doing like, beat. I'm doing Ginsburg. I mean, I was, loved it. Loved it. And for good reason. Ladies and gentlemen, hang on a minute. These nuts. Christos, you love them. Joel Rotiago says, you and Lynn make our days. Thanks from Kyle in Florida. Kyle, thank you so much, Kyle. Pilgrim says, you don't want a monkey on your back, Uncle E. Uncle E? No, I don't. I do not have no monkeys on my back. No siree, Bob. It's Sim, by the way. Sim. I'm Cy Sims. I'm Cy Sim. I'm Mossy Sims. Thank you, Sim, for being a member. George Keene says, any thoughts on John Thune, the Senate leader? Also think it was great. Was it wise for Getz to resign from Congress before getting nominated? Or do you think? Love to you, Mrs. L. You know what? I don't know about that. I think, first of all, Thune, I would prefer Rick Scott, but as far as Gates goes, look, remember, they investigated him. They found nothing wrong with him. And I think he figures, look, I'm just going to leave. His future is in TV. You know it. You know it. His future is definitely in TV. So I'm so happy about Caroline Levitt. You have no idea. No idea about that one. George says, you probably cemented your saltiness from that episode. That is absolutely brutal. Indeed. Indeed. DeSantis can appoint him to a position in Florida. Yeah, that's it. Yeah. Listen, I hate to say this to you. I don't hate to say it. I'll tell you. You can do far more in effect. You can do more things in life doing this than anything. Did you read how the most important, probably the most important aspect to all of this was Joe Rogan? Joe Rogan probably was a singular, one of the most important issue or effects of all time. Absolutely. George Keene says also, what's up with MTG? She seems to lean left. I don't know. I can't figure. I don't know. I can't. What did she say? Did we catch her the wrong day? I don't know. I'm just so happy he won. I'm so happy he won. I absolutely, positively, what that man has gone through. Can you imagine? I'm going to say this again. All right? This goes to you, Constance Baldwin and Terry and Raul. Can you imagine what it would be like if you woke up one day and you said, she's the president of the United States? Okay, Mala? Can you? I don't know why I keep bringing it up. I can't believe what that would be like. I can't believe what it would be like. This is incredible. For some reason, she's doing this again. C Knight says, I never thought I'd say or type this, but I'm happy he won as well. Who is he? I don't know who. Whatever. Did you see poor Biden? Whatever it's worth. Did you see poor Biden who was they had him at something in China. He was like way in the back. Oh man, way in the back. Are you kidding him? Oh my God. I was listening to people. Pilgrim said, have the USA ever had a real Manchurian candidate? Oh, I'm sure. But not only the president, but I'm sure others as well. Oh, absolutely. Through a variety of mind control. Anyway, I was listening to Judge Napolitano, whom I think the world of. Big fan. Huge. Look at this. Thank you, Biden, for Trump 2024. To an extent, you're correct. But anyway, Napolitano was talking to John Mearsheimer. And John Mearsheimer is, I love that guy. Like you can't believe. I think he's the greatest. In any event, for reasons I shan't be able to explain to you, I suggested that let me see here. So Mearsheimer says, well, I don't know if Hegseth can do this because, Hegseth has never really, he doesn't know anything about organization. He doesn't know anything about how to run the military. Say what you want about Austin, but he was a general and he knew. And I said, screw that. I don't want that. What do you mean you don't know about running such as? What are you talking about? No, he just, Hegseth is a good guy, but he doesn't know. He doesn't know what? What do you think he doesn't know? What he doesn't know about? Well, he doesn't know about, running. I don't know what they're talking about when he's. So I'm listening to him, and I love Mearsheimer. I really do. I think he is just incredible. But I'm listening to this nonsense, and I'm thinking, dear God, what is he talking about? What is this man talking about? And they're saying, well, he might not be the best person because, he doesn't really have any experience. It's like, I don't care about the experience. I don't care about this. I love when people come up and they say, well, he's not from the old school. Excuse me. I want somebody who, first of all, starting from top to bottom, understands how this thing is run. Sparky says, Fort Jackson, South Carolina, Tank Hill E51 basic training in the early 80s. One major punishment was cleaning mess hall grease trap with a styrofoam cup with a hole in it in the sweltering sun called the pit. Oh my God. Mess hall grease trap with a styrofoam cup with a hole in it. Oh my God. Horrid. George Keane says, possible best plan, Rubio gets Secretary of State, fill the vacancy with Gates. If he isn't confirmed, then he becomes their peer to race. You know what? Touche, George Keane. That's a damn good one. Damn good one. Put Gates in his secretary. If he doesn't get make it a conditional thing. Evan says, I spent a month in the hospital at age 10 when a surgery went wrong. Ooh. Just name it that, when a surgery went wrong. Oh my God. Not good. I had, we're talking about the military. My father was, I think he was at Fort Jackson and Fort Sam Houston. He was in the Army. He was drafted sort of, kind of deferred it post Korea. Anyway, he was at 101st Airborne, home of Screaming Eagles, and he couldn't do anything because of his knee or whatever it was. So he'd get up in the morning and they'd go this way and he'd go that way. So he became chief check cashier of the officers' mess. And he played cards. He would serve the thing, the breakfast, whatever it was. They'd do the bills, and then he and his friend would play cards, whom he became friends with forever. From New York, this New York guy. And he became and when my father was very good at cards, whenever they needed things like tires, or I think my mother needed bridge work or something, they would put this army blanket on the table so the chips couldn't hear, and he played cards the whole time. He had to bribe somebody to hold a rifle. I think he wore like Hawaiian. It was not like MASH kind of, but he served did his time. He did his thing. I said, what? But he played cards. I said, what kind of a medal did you have? Like the full house rather, with an ace. Judge Harry Coe. Judge Harry Coe, Hanging Harry, a great legend in Hillsborough County, was played baseball for the Army. And they said, if you don't win, you're going straight to Pusan. And I say, Pusan you, buddy. George King says, thanks, Mr. L. A kudo from you is the best. Well, thank you, sir. Well, I'm going to give you more than one kudo. I'll give you kudos. Look at this. Snarf says, I was Andy Dick's driver. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. That's all you got to say. I was Andy Dick's driver. That's all you have to do. It's all you have to say. I'm Andy Dick's driver. I'm reading your, I always make it a point. And I mean this. I love when people are in the service industry. There's a place called Stu Leonard's. Anybody hear of that? It started in Connecticut, but there's one in Clifton, and it's very homespun. They have these buttons where you like have a cow and Mrs. L, we take these pictures, and there's this lady making the guacamole, and one guy has Bob Dennison, 70-year resident of Tampa. Get out of here. What part of Tampa? I was North Tampa. Kind of not too far from Lowry Park, where I grew up. Probably didn't know this. But anyway, this woman, she's doing the guacamole. Another one's making this is she got a hairnet. Her name is probably Flo. And she's making this stuff. Just love that. This is her job. It's a friendly place. They got pictures of people. Stu Leonard's. It's really STEW. It's very, very nice. Sparky says, problem with Hexeth isn't so much he's another eschatologist, but it shows. Trump will get his intel by watching MSMTV. Sparky, I'm with you on that one. When he talks about saying, and I'm a Zionist, it's like, okay. All right. Look, nothing wrong with that. You can be a Zionist all you want. It's up to you. I don't care about that. I just don't want to be feeding, so to speak, this type of behavior. That's all I'm saying. Look at this. A Bible was found open in Revelation 14 and 15 on a fence post after Hurricane Helene flooded and destroyed a house. The Bible was left untouched despite the rest of the house being buried and flooded. I've got a friend of mine who is a chef, and we went to eat with his girlfriend and Mrs. L. And he came in with this. It was a picture frame, but it was clear glass on both sides. And inside was this thing. At 9/11, it was a piece of something that was charred. Forgive me for not remembering what it was, but it was poignant. And it was floating, and it landed like right in front of him. It was charred, and he framed it with glass on both sides. Out of nowhere, this thing. Let me ask you something. Do you believe that meant something? Did God or gods, the heavens or the firmament, create this? Did you believe that this Bible was opened? Why wasn't the damage averted? But the Bible was left open. That's God saying, here we go. I don't know. I don't know. Jerome says, I love when I hear your personal psychology, millennial listening, staying focused, but you're a great break. Wow, Jerome, thank you. A millennial? I guess you're the millennial? I'm honored, sir. I'm honored. My philosophies. Is that who I think it is? Whoa. You okay? I was going to send in a. You've been on the phone for how long? 6 hours. I thought she was asleep. About what? I walk in the door and she's on the phone. Wow. Is your ear okay? Okay, good. Um, I'd love to hear that whole thing about the millennials. See, I would love. Look at this, Jonathan. This is the best one. Jonathan says, "This is a greater show. Thank you." I'd love to. I would love seriously to sit. Whatever millennial is, I don't know what the hell it is, but to sit and ask about philosophies and what do you think. I was just on the phone. She's on for. I was on with 2 hours with Sean Atwood in the UK, talking about everything from Elon to whatever. And I love if I could have done school, high school or whatever, not so much college, but high school now, knowing what I know now and the way I would have appreciated it so much more. How could I have cared about, you know, history at 15? It's too early. It doesn't mean anything to you. It doesn't mean anything to you. None of it. It's just some so look at love from Brazil. Oh my God, Ninja. Brazil, we love you. Ninja Wizard. I love one of the places I want to go to. The greatest Elise Regina, Tom Jobim. Thank you for that sound and that sound. When I hear Brazilian, that brasileiro, or it's Portuguese, but it's different. Like for example, Portugal, Lisbon. I just melt when I hear this. You have no idea. I have no idea. God bless. Look at this, Regine Benjamin. That lots of love from Paris, France. Paris. I'm sorry. I hate when they say Paris. It's Paris. It's funny. Mrs. L and I are Bossa Nova, New Flair. Mrs. L and I want to go to do some, European stuff. You know me, I don't like traveling. I really don't like. I hate the airport. But anyway, but here's what I want to do. I'd love to go to Paris, but not the city. I don't want to sit in some outside. I don't want to go that tourist stuff. I want to go outside. I want to go where the locals live. I want that. I want to see. I saw something recently where some very nice trips. Hey, we're in Venice. And what are they in? They're in a gondola. I don't want to go in a gondola. I've seen that before. And you know what? With the Eiffel Tower? Yep, there it is. Okay. The Colosseum? Yep, that's it. That's it. Want to go to the Louvre? No. I want to go where people live. And I would love to sit around and I would love to talk to real Parisians or real French folks or real Brits or real Germans and say, tell me what you think about us. Tell me just speak freely. They'd have to speak English because I don't speak that. I would love that. I want to go to your stores. I want to see, tell me how you live. I'd like to go and just live in a place. And I don't know enough about the regions. I don't know what I'd like. But I don't want to do tourist stuff. I see people here, they do it all the time. They come to New York and say, what do you want to do? Don't go to the Statue of Liberty. Don't go. No. Just look at it. Take a circle line. Okay, there it is. No, that's not the fun part. Get real serious. Anyway. But that's what I would love to do. And my real dream would be to take a bus, a coach, and go to your town and for you to tell me, where do you live? Where do you hang out? Tell me what your thing is. I love regular people. I don't want to go to see, I'm sorry, Buckingham Palace. I don't care about that. It's not what I want to do. I want to go to Newcastle. I want to talk to a Geordie. I want to talk to, I think Australia. The flying to me, I can't even imagine that, but that's got to be so much fun because you're outcasts. You were criminals. You're out of your mind. I love that. The way I like people who have they're just kind of demented in a nice way. In a nice way. That's what I want to do. And I want to talk to people. And you know, and I know that people love Trump. They love Trump because Trump exudes power. He's not perfect. I don't really care whether you think he's perfect or not, but I'd love to do that. You have no idea. I think that I find, and I mean this, I find regular people the most interesting. I saw something interesting right now. Look at this. That's what I miss the most here in Paris. Pizza. You know, it's funny you say that. Pizza is Sparky says, nice. France is nice. Also the French countryside. There you go. Oh, Nice. Excuse me. Sorry. I know my knees are nice. Pizza, I could talk about for the rest of my life. Pizza. Even sans cheese. That's fine. Doesn't really matter. But pizza. The New York pizza. New York. Chicago. I'm sorry. Detroit, St. Louis too, and I'm trying to think. It is flour, water, yeast, salt, tomato sauce for the most part, and cheese. And we could be in a room where we all get the same wheat, the flour, the same water, the same everything. And all of ours will be different. All of ours will be different. Thin or thick. We have a little place. I think it's one of the best. And this guy, Portnoy, he does his ratings. Rating pizza has got to be like, because consistency is tough. But anyway, I like the fact that he's at least going and trying these places because these little joints, thin or thick? Thin or thick? Look at this. Faye Dalton says, Detroit has great pizza. Their water is what makes it special. You know, it's funny you say that because that's kind of what they said, but that's not the water. The same that they say that with bagels here, it's not the water because a lot of people they don't really use tap water. Diana says, I didn't like the pizza in Italy. You know, it's funny you say that. We have friends of ours who went to, where were they in Italy? They were treated like shit. Pardon my French. Was it Venice? Oh. Yeah, Rome, treated like garbage. Evan says, I am glad I went to see Liverpool before it became popular to do a Beatles tour. I hung out in the hotel bar, Merchant Marines. See, that's what I like. Jerome says, double shot. Love that you love regular people. What is true isn't popular, and what is popular isn't true. Yes. What I love not so much regular people, but I love people who have no pretense. None. Got to tell you the story. Americans have no sense of, like Europe, how close things are. I'll give you an example. There was an actor. I don't know the name, but I love this story. He was in Paris, and he did not like. He said, "I like Italian food. Can you take me to Italian? Can you? Is there any good Italian food?" And they went all over Paris. Classic Paris. They went here. And he was like, that's not it. He goes, don't you have any Italian food? He goes, oh, they got this. And he tried everything. And he was like, either the last night or the penultimate night, whatever it was. And he's talking to his driver. And he goes, I can't believe it. He goes, no offense to Paris, but so the driver says, well, we could drive to Rome. He says, what? Yeah, we can drive there or take a train or whatever. He goes, we can drive there? He says, yeah. He says, why didn't we do this? He says, well, you said you wanted an Italian restaurant in Paris. He goes, that's not what I said. I said I wanted Italian. Anyway, and he realized, oh my God, I'm in another country. That's a whole nother story. That's a whole nother story. That's something that is incredible. Mel says, hey, Lionel, I just made, cut, weighed, and rolled 100 pizza doughs while listening to you. Oh my God. Are you a professional? Because I love watching professional pizza people. We have a little place in the hood. It's our favorite. It's called Justino's. And sometimes there's something in New York called a grandma pizza. Then they have a Sicilian. Then they have the thin. But what is, and what you would like, which they will argue about forever, is a plain old cheese pizza. Name one sandwich you've always wanted to eat. Oh, that's easy. Meat notwithstanding, because I'm plant-based, but I love beef on weck. I think it's upstate in Rochester. I would do that. I would do that roast beef on the dipped thing. Well, look at this. Mel says, yes, a 20-year pizza veteran. Mel, I would love, you're going to think I'm crazy. I don't know where you are. I would love to just say, just let me watch you. Just let me watch you. There's a YouTube about this British guy, British bakery. And you see him, the lights go on, he makes a cup of tea, and he starts rolling. I love when they do this stuff. And he's got everything. He's like a machine. Pizza dough. Pizza is just a genius. You got to get it just right. And is it coal fire oven versus you can argue left and right. Bagels are something that, and people have always said it's the water. It's not the water. I could take you. Oh, here we go. Portillo's Italian beef. You got to tell me where. You got to tell me where, Diana. You got to say what city and in Tampa. We used to argue about a Cuban sandwich. Oh, French dip. Yeah, French dip. French dip. I think sounds like a slam. But in Tampa, we would argue about Cuban breads. Oh, you're in New Rochelle. Wait a minute, New Rochelle. We used to go to New Rochelle all the time. We used to go. Mrs. L did a radio show in New Rochelle at VOX, and we went to a place. What is the name of the place? It's that guy who had a pizza show. What is his name? It was pretty good. His name was this, no. What was the name? This was a guy, Pete or Tony or something. He was on one of the YouTube channels. He's covered in tattoos and he went, anyway. Pizza is just it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And everybody has a version of that. Oh, look at this. Philly cheesesteak. Matter, honey. We had a Philly cheese. I did Philly cheesesteaks years ago. And by the way, it's not Pat's and Geno's anymore. It's far more. It's a kind of a different thing. But oh, look at faces. I love Cuban beans and rice. Yep. But a Cuban sandwich in Tampa. I used to think growing up, mine was a Silver Ring on 7th Avenue. And we called it the Cuban mix. A misto, not a Cuban sandwich, as they were called it, but a misto was a mix. Oh, he says, speaking of bakery, what about the Whoopi Goldberg scandal? Oh, I talked about that. And I put, let me put this for you, my friends. Hang on a minute. I want you to see this. because this broke my heart. Mrs. Elliott and I are going to go see them, and we're going to go see the Amish. But I want to give you this one thing. Where is it? Oh, here we go. Halterman's. There's this piece. I'm going to give you this link. There's Halterman, and there's a thing called oh God. Here, I'll give you this. This is their piece. There's something about real New York or real stories. Hang on a minute. Just a minute. Just see, I could talk about the food thing all day long. I love it. Oh, he says, speaking of bakery, what about? Oh yeah, we did that one. Sparky says, as a knuckle dragging lowbrow American GI, I went to Paris in the mid '80s. Went to a fancy restaurant and ordered white wine with my steak. The waiter, their generational pros there, was horrified. You know when I say that? Screw that. You can have whatever you want. You can have whatever you want. The idea of the white wine with this, no. You should be able to do whatever it is that you want. Let me tell you something. There's some places I want to tell you. Bakeries, I could go. What is the name of the place? On Arthur Avenue. Arthur Avenue in the Bronx is really Little Italy. This is legit. Not Little Italy downtown. That's all. No. Arthur Avenue. Very serious. And oh my God, they have this olive bread. I loved Enzo's. The bread with pieces of it's incredible. Absolutely incredible. I love to watch, and I do it all the time, about food around the country, places that people enjoy. Jerome says, I love the principle, not the attribute, Trump. The culture will have things ingrained 120 years from now, while the vocal still argue. I'm excited. You know, it's funny, you mentioned that. The question is, you mentioned the basics. And one of the hardest questions, I think, to answer is, what are you so excited about? What can Trump bring back? And what has been lost that he can bring back? Sparky says, it's my understanding that it's not just the water with bread crust, but also the altitude. It's the altitude, and it's also temperature, and it's also humidity and seasons and people who know how to read the yeast. And I don't particularly care for corned beef, Swiss cheese, sauerkraut, $1,000 dressing, or rye, but I love Rubens. You know, it's funny you say that. I used to despise avocados. Avocado, like slice with, but guacamole, love it. I love cold apples. I don't like hot apples. Apple pie, I never, I don't know what it is. Having a hot apples, it doesn't work right. Coconut, I can't do coconut. But I mentioned this before. Hackensack, B&H or H&K or bakery for the crumb cake. Dear God. I told you this before. I used to go to Housewife Bakery on Sly in Armenia growing up in Tampa. And they had scacciata. Scacciata was the thick. It was the pizza or the sheet you always brought to birthdays, and then they have and you love this pizza with G, which is Swiss chard, but it's spelled, and nobody could spell G, but it's spelled Giri, and it's wonderful. Oh my God! When you walk into an old bakery, they've got the ladies with the hairnets. And there's maybe an old lady sitting there like in the chair who owns it. And you pull that little paper number out and you look at, I don't know if it's the smell, it's unbelievable. Tony Paco's hot dog in Toledo, Klinger's favorite, that's one I would like to try. I think that the Chicago, again, from years, the Chicago hot dogs with that, Mel's hot dogs in Tampa, to his credit, made a very, very authentic, if not a perfect authentic Chicago dog with that vibrant green relish, the sport peppers, the celery salt. The, loved that. There's something beauteous about that. I love fair food. Oh, look at this. There's Dale Kimball. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's H.W. Bakery. Yeah, how H.W. Bakery. No. Didn't Tony Clemente used to own it? Remember the guy Tony Clemente? That Alessi, which is classic. On Florida Avenue, Fido's Bakery has the best Cuban bread. It is made with lard. I'm sorry. It's the best there is. One time, remember your first time at Cuban bread? We were in this rental car and we went there. I think it was your first time. Maybe, I'm not sure. And we got a loaf because it's, what is it, like a yard long? It's huge. We sat in the car and I think we ate the entire thing. It was crumbs everywhere. It is incredible. There was a place called La Terracita. And you would go in the morning and you would have your Cuban bread and your café con leche and you dip it. Oh, dear God. Jerome says, I'm an engineer. I'm logical. I love that people who have never approached me have come to let me know their opinion. I'm admittedly vocal. By hope, I mean, I love that people are confident to talk. Interesting. I love that people who have never approached me have come to let me know what their opinion. Interesting. You know, it's funny you say that, and I appreciate that. I really have not met that many people who have given me a hard time about stuff. And I think one of the reasons why is I have a very keen, and I've always enjoyed this, a keen interest, and I think sometimes an ability, sometimes to bust people's balls. I mean, smash them. Rompeci il coglione. I mean, let them have it. And for some reason, people have kind of stayed away from it. I really don't bother anybody. And it's interesting about people giving me their opinion. I wish I could explain to people what Trump means. And I have this analogy about this, and I don't know if it works or not. But something bad happened. When I was talking to Sean Atwood tonight, people were talking about, is wokeism dead? What caused wokeism? Do you believe people believe in wokeism? I said, not really. I don't believe so. I do not believe that there are people who honestly give a rat's ass about pronouns. I don't. I do not believe there are people who really like to hear what Greta Thunberg has to say. I don't believe so. How dare you? I don't think anybody, I don't think people really appreciate climate change or worry about it. I believe it's an affectation. We do it too, our side. People who all of a sudden are waving flags. That's fine. There are some people who I don't think they know what the hell they're talking about, but they wave flags, which is fine. Sparky says, when I ordered, the Parisian waiter exclaimed in astonishment, white wine, monsieur. I may have started a trend. Soon after I read, it was now okay to order the wine you want. I like red too. You know, when I was in, I guess, well, old enough to drink, my father, who was, we had a kind of a wine, not wine, but a liquor business, sort of the family. And they could not sell this Eichwein. It was Mosel, German Mosel, and it was Eichwein. Oh, Spätlese, Auslese, and Eiswein. And we had like a case of it. So my friend who I saw the other day, known him since 7th grade, he came over, and my mother had chocolate chip cookies frozen in this big jar, this big thing of that, and I had ice cold German. I don't know how much this stuff cost a bottle, but it was a fortune. But the ice wine was the first frost in the Mosel Valley, the first grape, and it was this. Please forgive me. The color was it was like not a sauterne, but the color was like, we used to call it vitamin piss. It was terrible. I'm sorry, but it was a. So anyway, so I'm with my friend. I said, here, try this. He goes, what is this? He goes, frozen chocolate chip cookie. I said, frozen? I said, try them. He said, oh my God, they're incredible. What's this? This is ice wine or ice wine. He said, well, I don't really like wine. Try this. And we just got hammered, but it's the only wine I ever liked. I don't like wine. That I liked. I like sometimes maybe the stronger, like the sherries and brandies and things like that. But wine, white wine, no. Cabernets, nope. Rosés, nope. There's a smell that kind of makes me sick when I smell it. But the hard stuff, of course, I've turned my life around, but that's a wonderful, wonderful kind of thing. In any event, port is wonderful. You know who had a wonderful thing? Port, the old here in New York, Ruth's Chris, wonderful. And one time I had lunch with Richard Belzer, and he had moved to France, and he got this place in France that he bought with the settlement when Hulk Hogan put him in a sleeper and he cracked his head, and he moved to France or whatever it was, and it was this digestif, whatever this. I forget what it was. He kind of turned me on to what he was, Mr. Ooh La La. Apparently helped with digestion. I'm thinking, I never have a problem with digestion. I never have a problem with that. None whatsoever. When we were growing up in Tampa, Dale would know about this. There was Busch Gardens on Bush Boulevard. They would have these tours, and they would serve you beer. But there was a Schlitz brewery on 30th and Fowler, and they had these tours. And I don't know why, but they didn't recognize the fact that we were in college. And they never cared, and we never, raised hell, but we would go through and go back again, and they were great. It was a big Schlitz can. It was wonderful. Speaking of which, one time I was at a Holiday Inn on Fowler or something like that. I had to stop off, had to use a John. I walked through the lounge, and there's this guy by himself. And there's like nobody there. And he was saying, I love the nightlife. I love to bogey. I said, this is great. So I went and I said to my fraternity brothers, I said, by the way, there's a place we should all go to. This guy's great. He doesn't get a lot of people there, but he does. I like the nightlife. And when he hits, I love to bogey, you're going to go nuts. So this poor guy, I don't know what his name was. He's playing this thing. There was nobody there. A lounge on the Holiday Inn, whatever it was. So he's doing this thing. Well, we showed up. And one day he looks up and he says, oh, y'all, what are y'all here for? He goes, here to see you. He said, do you have any requests? Do we ever? I like the nightlife, Alicia Bridges. He goes, I know that one. I said, we know you do. Hit it. And he's doing this, I love the nightlife. I love to bogey. And everybody like slammed their drink on. Yeah. And he's wondering like, what is going on? What have I done? Can you play it again? Sure. What? We're tipping them, and I love the night. Come on, man. I love to bogey. Yeah. And that was our thing. And then we stopped going. So he probably wondered, what did I do? Let me tell you another story. I don't know if this is true. I'm going to tell you the way I heard it, so you can decide. The person who told me this was very, very famous. He's no longer with us. I'll leave it at that. There was a concert. Rod Stewart was playing somewhere. It might have been Tampa Stadium. He was staying in, because they always stay elsewhere, like Tampa Stadium, and they stay in Lakeland, or they fly in, whatever it was. But he was staying, I believe it was Tampa, but he was staying someplace else. And they're at this hotel, and this friend of mine who was a famous disc jockey at the time, he and Rod Stewart are there in this little bar. And they're talking, and it was very dark. And there was this couple by themselves in the NBA, kind of canoodling, as they say. And they had two cars parked next to each other. So Rod Stewart, this is the story. I'm telling you the story. Supposedly said to my friend, who was no longer with us, that means he's dead, because everybody's no longer with us because they're not here. Anyway, he said, I'll bet you those people are having an affair. Why? He said, well, first of all, this is a hotel. Plus, those are their only two. There's no cars in the parking lot. They met here. He goes, oh, you're right. He says, watch this. So he asked the bar, or somebody says, there's a piano here. Do you mind if I play? They said, of course. It's Rod Stewart. So Rod Stewart gets up, and all of a sudden, he, even with no microphone, they know that voice. And they're sitting there, and I love you too. And they're thinking this, hot legs, but he's doing kind of a jazzy, and he was into that soulful. And they look up and they think, is that Rod? It's Rod Stewart. So he says, do you have any requests? He says, yeah. And Rod Stewart is playing to these people, as the story goes. Again, I cannot vouch for this, but this is the story he told me. So when my friend said, why did you do that? Rod Stewart said, they can't tell anybody. Hey, guess what? We were at, oh, yeah, that's right. Nothing. Well, I love that story. Evan Webb says, 3 years in Boulder, Colorado, starting in 2019, and happy to return to Texas. Issues PNS was wild. Issues PNS was wild. Okay. Don't know what that means. I'll think about that one. Sparky says, when the Holiday Inn has those lounge acts, it was a great place to pick up girls who were traveling on business, especially when conventions were in town. We used to dance in those days. It's funny you say that. Mrs. L is a great dancer. Absolutely has it naturally. I do not have that. I follow Cicero's old thought, no sane man will dance. And I was wondering, do kids today dance? Do they dance? Not drunk at a wedding, but I mean dance, because what people will never understand, and we speak very fondly of, there was a time when disco during the 70s was a very, very nice time. You danced with people. I don't dance, but you dance with people, not at them. And it was really something to see dances. I used to love to watch Soul Train and the dances. Remember this? Remember Rerun, that kind of dance they did? I loved it. Then they had American Bandstand, but Soul Train? And you couldn't say, well, black people dance better. You can't say that. Even though you wanted to say it. I said, well, why can't you say that? Well, you can't say that. Why not? Well, even then, because What? Because white people get up? No, it's not. But you could make jokes of what you could think white people, like the white guy, he bites his lip. I never understood dancing. As long as I live, I'm telling you right now, the last thing I ever want to do when I hear a great song is to start. It's like hitting my head. I don't want to do that either. I have no indication, no natural inclination to dance. Anyway, I was always wanted to be a kung fu fighter. Don't you remember the song? Everybody was kung fu fighting. Their kicks were fast as lightning. Seen Jeff Beck open for Aerosmith. Oh, now we can go into this. Don Cornelius, yep. The Soul Train. Look at this. Yes, Sean. Jeff Beck was a guitar god. There was nobody like him. He played completely differently. Completely differently. You know, it's also very good to see is on YouTube, the people dancing, incredible dancing. I'm glad to see it. Again, I don't. You know what we're seeing is Arthur Miller. No, what's his name? Arthur Miller, the salesman. Arthur, do you have an Arthur? I've never been to an Arthur Murray. Dan, do they have those? What was the place? Remember on Broadway, the dance? There was this place where you could learn how to dance. It was right around 70th something. It was on Broadway near Kenny Rogers. Anyway, there was this. You could go to dance, learn how to dance. Anyway, I thought, well, again, my favorite. Do me a favor, please. My favorite dancing. If I could learn how to do it, it's called Zauli. Let me spell this for you. And when we get done, not now, but I want you to look this name up, and I want you to put this in the in your YouTube thing there, and look up Zauli. Zauli. This is the greatest dancing I've ever seen. I want to do this. It looks painful. Sparky says, correction, had those lounge acts. I mistakenly wrote has. Dancing was a good icebreaker. Even before disco, people danced. Not much nightclub dancing any longer. That's exactly what I was saying. That's exactly when there were discos. Mrs. L would say that when she was young, or not, she's young now, but I'm saying, but she was in the old days, so to speak, they would have disco roller skating. Tal Wilkenfeld for bass, unbelievable. I'll plan. Couldn't believe. By the way, Jeff Beck had a female drummer. Tal from Australia is phenomenal and great singer too. By the way, I have never roller skated in my life. I've never ice skated in my life. Skateboard I could do. Not roller skating, not one time. Ice skating, never. Never done that. I'm not proud of it. Tramps, Studio 54. I ran into Sylvester Stallone alone at Studio 54. He was alone and just dancing like everybody else. I recognized him. He wasn't in the back room with others. Right now, that is 54th Street, 54th, Studio 54, right down the street. Right, we walk by it quite a lot. And now they have that 54 below. Now it's a what am I trying to say? It's a Broadway thing, an off Broadway. All right, my friends, an hour and 34 minutes. That's enough. What a delight on it. Oh, Gypsy Kings. You're probably into salsa. Not really so much salsa, though. Lydia Cruz. I like her. I like that sound. I liked even Otito Puente. Remember the Mambo Kings? Great. And when David Byrne was in that. Salsa, I'm not. I don't know as much. Oh, when I hear Watusi, Ray Barretto, Watusi, Kiki, Oh my God, I love it. What does it? Oh, I love it. All right, my friends, let me thank you, every one of you. Wonderful people. Wonderful people. Sparky, you were terrific. Evan, thank you. Jerome Delafoes. Bill Monahan. That was the name of our football coach in high school. Not that you care. OA, thank you. Mel the pizza man in New Rochelle. Mel, Mel, did you ever tell us where you are in New Rochelle? Give yourself a plug if you want. Jonathan Kiner, thank you. Jerome, I said. Evan Webb. George Keene, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much. Let me see. Nelson, Pilgrim Media, thank you. Sim, our new member. And Joel Rotiago. Of course, the Honeyman, Christo Stavro. D's Nuts. Conrad, thank you. Linda Hazlitt. Diana Smith, our new member. And Howie Brown, thank you. What's the name of that? I'm going to get the name of this guy. Hang on a minute. New Rochelle Pizza. New. The guy's name is like Sal or. Let me see this. Hang on a minute. I'm going to get to the bottom of this. Okay, New Rochelle. The name of it is it La Rosa? No. Remember the name of that place? And it was very good. We used to go to it. We parked in the back. It was not Sacconi's. It's very good. The guy's name he was a young man who had this channel, and he would go around the country. In any event, who cares? All right, my friends, have a great and a glorious night. I enjoyed tonight so much because let me tell you something. We have to remind ourselves, God bless this man one. God bless him. All right, your friends. See you tomorrow. Have a great and glorious night. Don't forget, follow Mrs. L at Lynn's Warriors. Lynn's Warriors. Lynn's Warriors. Do it and do it now. We love you. See you tomorrow. Don't forget the monkey's dead. The show's over. Sue you. Dad.